What is going on, guys? Noah Brewer here, back again with another banger of a video. Now, before we get into this one, I want to say thank you for all the love and support on my channel recently. My last few videos have really popped off, and I wanted to say thank you. I really do appreciate it, and the kind words in the comments. You guys are too sweet. But today we have a video, a little bit of a rant, you could call it, but I just want to talk about the truth about dropshipping profits, kind of how it works, give you some background and what to expect if you are making money currently with e-commerce. Or if you haven't made money and you do plan on making money, then this is information that you should know, and I will be giving some good tips on how to manage the money, manage the cash flow to make sure that you get the most out of your e-commerce profits. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to cover is, let's say you're in this scenario where you are making $1,000 a day and about $300 a day in profit. Nobody is writing you a check. Now, I know that this seems like common sense, that there's going to be cash flow and money going in and money going out. But when people hear $1,000 a day in profit, what they're probably picturing in their mind is something similar to when you go to a job and you get a check at the end of the week and you get to deposit that check into your personal checking account, and then you get to go spend that money on whatever you want. Now, this is not the way that dropshipping profits work, or e-commerce profits in general, or honestly even business profits in general. This isn't really the way that it works, and the way that it does work is, let's say you were profiting $1,000 per day. The way that it would work is you would have $4,000 coming into your bank account every single day, and you would also have $3,000 leaving your bank account every single day. Now, this sounds really simple, and it sounds like, oh, okay, so nobody's cutting me a check, but at least my account is going to be growing by $1,000 a day, which is not necessarily true either, because there's so many moving parts. There's so many people pulling money from your bank account. You got fulfillment, refunds, ad costs, employees, so many things that can happen that actually mess with your cash flow. And another thing that I'll bring up, profits take time to catch up. So if you do $1,000 in revenue today, you might not see that $1,000 in revenue hit your bank account until maybe 2 or 3 days. If you're using Stripe, or most payment processors take a few days to pay out. Me personally, on a couple businesses that I have, I can take instant payouts. So if we do $1,000 in sales today, I can actually instantly transfer that into my bank account. So I don't really have that many cash flow issues with those businesses because I have access to my money. Frequently with e-commerce, you have to wait 1 to 3 business days for whatever reason, and that's what I'm talking about right now. And that doesn't seem like that big of a deal, right? Because the money's going to hit your bank account one way or another whenever. So you know that you have the money there, which is all good and dandy. But what becomes an issue is fulfillment, refunds, employees, and ad costs come out today. So if you do $1,000 in revenue today, you might not see that $1,000 for 2 to 3 days. But if you spent $300 on ads to get that $1,000 in revenue, and you have to spend $500 to fulfill those orders, now you're coming out of pocket, $700 to cover costs for revenue that you're not going to receive for 1 to 3 business days. So this especially gets dangerous when you consider that in e-commerce, you're not only going to be making $1,000 in one day. Usually it's going to be every single day, and it's going to be consistent. So now you have $1,000 coming in today that you have to pocket $700 in expenses for. But now it's also going to happen tomorrow. And remember, let's say it takes 2 days for you to get your payout. You're going to be doing $1,000 in day 1 and $700 in expenses, and then the same exact number on day 2. And then the next day is when you're going to receive the payout from day 1. But by then you've already pocketed 2 days worth of expenses. So if you do the math correctly in your head, you're actually going to be negative $400 on day 3. But on paper, you're profiting $300 per day, but just because of that 2 to 3 day delay in your payouts, now you're negative $400 on day 3. Now, it's important to understand that, if you do run that math and you're like, holy shit, you're right, you actually are going to be technically losing money. But on paper, you're not going to be. The money will come around full circle, and after a few days, maybe like a week or 2 of that, you're going to be fine, and you're actually going to be into positive cash flow. And this is kind of like the downside of e-commerce profits, and why having money flowing like this is annoying, because like I said, most costs that are associated with e-commerce, they take your money today, but you may not get paid for a couple days. So understanding that nobody writes you a check, you have a ton of cash flow, a ton of money going out, and a ton of money coming in, it could be hard to manage it, especially with advertising costs, fulfillment costs. If you don't get instant payouts, it might take a little bit to catch up to that. Now, let me give you some tips on actually managing your cash flow. I have a little unique system that I do for my own businesses that works really well, and it allows me to actually realize the profits that my businesses are making. So if you have experience with having successful businesses, then you know that if your paper profit is $100,000, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have $100,000 in profit that you can actually access. So with this system, this allows you to put money aside that you are actually able to access and you can use. And it's honestly kind of a safety net. And I like to push the intentionality in, realizing your profits and actually utilizing your bank account to its best advantage. So the first thing that you want to do is establish a bottom dollar maintenance reserve amount for your checking account. So how much money do you need in your actual bank account to keep up with your ad spend, your fulfillment, your employees, your refunds, all the expenses that are associated with your bank account, let's say on a 7-day basis. So if you get paid by Stripe or whoever your payment processor is once a week, then use a 7-day term to determine this. But if you get payouts every single day, then you can do it on a daily basis. But you really want to establish this number to know how much money needs to be sitting in that bank account to run your business, keep your employees paid, keep Facebook paid, keep all those, and then add a little bit of buffer just in case anything goes wrong or if anything goes a little bit out of the ordinary. So establish your bottom dollar maintenance reserve. So for this example, I'm going to say it's $10,000. So in order for your business to operate, you always need at least $10,000 every 7 days in your bank account to pay employees, Facebook, fulfillment, whatever. So once you know this number, then you know how much money needs to be in that account at all times for you to be able to operate your business. The next thing that I would recommend doing is setting up a savings account that is directly connected to your checking account. So this means, with the same bank, ideally under the same username and password for your online banking. This way, you can easily transfer money from your checking into your savings, and also vice versa, from your savings into your checking. Now, the reason I do this is because let's say your bottom dollar reserve amount is $10,000, and let's say 1 week you get a fatty payout and you get a payout for 15 grand and you already had 5 grand in your bank account. Now you should be sitting on $25,000, and in order for you to operate your business, you only need 10. So what I would recommend doing at this point, run your numbers, make sure that your expenses aren't a little bit higher because it can vary, but now you know that your business can operate for the next 7 days off of $10,000, and now you have 25. So you can take the $15,000 difference and go ahead and transfer it over to your savings account. And the way that I look at it is it kind of locks in the money, because once it's in your checking account, that money can be flowing anywhere. Like, it can go to refunds, whatever, employees, ad costs, and it can disappear. So what I like to do is know your maintenance reserve, and then transfer your money to another savings account that is very easily accessible. That's the main point here. You don't want to take the money out and put it in cash where you can't reverse the transfer. And the worst thing that can happen in this scenario is for that particular week, you find out that, you actually need $15,000 instead of the 10 that you predicted, and you can easily transfer, from the savings into the checking. The point of doing this is to sort of separate where the cash is flowing to where your profits are held. Now, this is super important because, like I said, if you're not intentionally trying to realize your profits, the daily cash flow of any business will eat away at money. And, you could have run, $30,000 in profit on paper and only have, 5 to 10 grand in your bank account at the end of it all, just because there's so much money flowing everywhere. And keeping track of your money is also a really important part. So if you're checking your bank account every single day and seeing how much money is in there, and you don't even honestly don't even really need to transfer the money to have this effect. But just you checking your account every single day and just being aware of where you're at financially in the morning and at night will help you with managing your money and making sure that it's not getting out of hand. So I'll show an example on the screen right now of like what one of my businesses look like. So on the top we have the checking account, which has $2,100 in it because we just paid employees. I'd say the bottom reserve amount for this business is about 10 grand. It's not that high. It's not like a super high expense business. But then you can see the savings below it, where anytime I go above 10 grand, I transfer money into the savings account. And trust me, if I need to reverse it at any time, it's literally two presses of any button on my phone, and that will allow me to reverse it and get more money into the checking. But for the most part, I've been following the system, and it's been working very, very well. Now, I would like to say that don't get out of hand with this. It is a very easy system in terms of like keeping track of your money and actually realizing your profits and getting them out of the main checking account where all the cash flow is happening. Super important. It's been super beneficial for me to actually be able to manage my money better. But like I said, the money will disappear in the day-to-day flow, and this system has helped me at least, actually realize more profits out of the business rather than just leaving all the money in the checking account. So you might say, like, why would you pull money away from the checking? Like, your paper profit should match up with, your real profit and what's in your bank account. And the truth is, it's not really how it works. If you're not saving your money and you're not maintaining your bank account and you're not aware of what's going on, I like to call this being intentional. Like, you're intentionally checking it every single day. You're intentionally removing profits from the business when it is necessary to do so. Then you can actually realize your profits. And I don't know if it's just me or other people, but I also have multiple businesses and I also have partners. So this has been kind of like a pattern amongst all of my businesses, where if we don't actually take the profits out of the business, it'll just disappear. I mean, we'll make $20,000 in profit on paper and have like 6 grand in the bank account. How does that happen? I don't really know, but the only time when we actually really realize our profits and make the most out of the money that we're generating is when we take the money out of the business, not necessarily paying ourselves, but just transferring it out of the main checking account so that there's not so much cash flow eating into the profit. And like I said, I have many businesses. This isn't just one business where this happens, but money disappears in the flow. I don't know any best way to say it, but this has kind of helped me battle this scenario where you're making X amount of profit, but you're not really realizing that profit. And I hope that some of you have realized this as well, and you can relate with me in the comment section. I hope that you're able to implement some sort of system like this that actually allows you to combat the daily cash flow issues and actually realizing profits. And one thing that I do really want to emphasize is if you do follow this system, super important that it's on the same bank, same bank account even. That way, if your business needs the money, you can just transfer it right back and there are no issues. So I would challenge you, if you do run a profitable e-commerce store or any business in general, try out this system. Go start a business savings account under the same umbrella as your checking, and just transfer a little bit of money. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to be super extreme with it. Even if it's just like $100 here and there, just try it out and see where it goes. And I bet you'll be surprised at the amount of profits that you can actually realize, right? Like the amount of money that you actually have at the end of the day. And I hope that it works out for you and it works out really great. So a few points, a little bit of a recap. Nobody writes you a check in e-commerce. You can't just take your $1,000 a day in profit and just deposit it into your checking account and live your life. You actually have to actively manage the money and make sure that you're not spending too much in different places, and you have to know where the money's coming from, where it's going. You have to know all of that because the cash flow going in and out is honestly insane. Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever you're doing, employees, fulfillment, all these things, there's so much money moving in and out. It's super easy to just lose track and just say fuck it and just let the money go wherever, and whatever you make is what you make. But you really have to be intentional with trying to save money, especially if your payment processor takes like 3 or 4 days to pay you out. Then you can especially have some cash flow issues. Of course, knowing what your bottom dollar maintenance reserve needs to be is really important, because you can make sure that you have enough money to cover your expenses. And starting a second savings account is something that nobody told me how to do it. I just did it because I thought it would be a good solution to the issue, and so far it's been great for me. And like I said, the only bad thing that has happened and can happen is maybe your business needs more money than you thought that week, and you need to transfer some money back. But in my experience, it hasn't happened that often, and when it does happen, it's not that big of a deal. It's like literally 2 clicks on your phone, you get the money back in the main account. So I'm mainly making this video for my clients that are making money because I want them to be able to make the most out of what they're doing, and also business partners that I'm working with to kind of clear this up and show them how to actually manage money. But I wanted to post it on my YouTube so it's available to everybody because I think it would be valuable to any person that's doing e-commerce or business in general on kind of like how to manage the day-to-day cash flow and what you should be doing. So I hope that this video was valuable to you. If it was, leave a like. If you have any feedback, questions, concerns, things that you want to raise, eyebrow to, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any things that you can add to this conversation, I'm open to any new ideas, and I'm sure that your comment may be valuable to other viewers as well, so make sure that you leave those down below. But as for this video, that's it. This is Noah Brewer, and I'm out. Peace.